This is a public meeting of Randolph County Community Foundation application review panel covered to receive and discuss the Indiana Arts Commission FY24 Arts Project Support Grant Program applications for Region 5. I'm Tracy Burns, located in Connersville, Indiana, and today's review panel facilitator. Today is Thursday, April 27th, 2023, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applications and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. Let's start with the panel. Panelist 1.
We can start with the panelist list that should be in your Zoom screen. So we can run down that list as it's listed in the screen share. So Colin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Colin Knapp. I'm a recent graduate of Indiana University. I studied arts administration. I'm currently Zooming from New York City, where I am the marketing director for Paul Taylor Dance Company.
Tracy, can you see where I'm reading from, or do you want me to just move through that list to help?
Antonio, right, McAfee?
I am Antonio McAfee, professor of photography at Earlham College, a practicing artist, moved to Richmond a year and a half ago from Baltimore, Maryland, which I was teaching there in Baltimore and in DC.
Jan?
Hi, I'm Jan Rastamaji, and I am a current artist. I do jewelry design and metalsmithing, and also photography. I am a former executive director from an arts organization in Indiana, and I'm happy to be here.
And do we have Kathleen?
Hi, I'm Catherine Tall. I'm a former Ripley County Tourism Bureau director and retired now, do a lot of photography, and I live near Holton, Indiana.
And I'm Tracy Burns, the facilitator. I'm from Connersville, Indiana, and a member of the Whitewater Valley Arts Association and an Indiana artisan. And then Brady.
Yeah, I am Brady Eulis. I'm the regional arts partner for Region 5, which is the greater East Central Indiana area through the Community Foundation of Randolph County. I have a sculpture degree from Ball State and work primarily in independent curation and arts administration. Eric, if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry, Eric.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric. I'm the Grants and Research Manager for the Indiana Arts Commission, running Tech Today, coming to you from Bloomington, Indiana.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paige Sharp, Deputy Director of Programs for the Indiana Arts Commission, and I'm just here to oversee the process.
Now we'll begin with the panel review. This is how the process will work. I will announce the application. We will review and ask the first reader to begin with the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives panelists bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed in the virtual waiting room while the application is reviewed. However, there are no conflicts of interest on this panel, if applicable. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as results of this broader discussion. These scores save automatically. Are there any questions? Let's begin. I will start with the application from Chanticleer String Quartet from Earlham College. And Catherine?
Yes. Okay. Looking at artistic quality, I was very impressed with the diversity of programs set up for the community and the ability of them to reach so many different residents. It seems that they do go above and beyond to reach out to the public in different areas. On art support, the project totally funds Indiana artists with the grant monies, which is great. Community engagement. In there. The project reaches an incredible diverse population. Even those who are not able to attend a concert may see them via video. All the programs are well thought out and will be a great asset to many. Under management, they gave a very detailed timeline and seemed to have very strong management set up. And that's all I have.
Antonio?
I agree with everything that's been said. I pretty much echoed it with some lesser sentences. It was very articulate from Catherine, but I agree with everything that's been said already.
Well, thank you to both of you. The second or the next applicant is
Tracy, before you move on, after the second reader, we want to open it up for the rest of the panelists if they have any additional or opposing comments to share.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'll chime in. I thought this is an incredibly strong application. It's really great to see, there's many decades of experience from the person who is running this program. The use of surveying and this, feedback from over the years has been used to improve the program, which is, to me, something that's very important in terms of not only how they are reaching their communities, but how they are using funds from IAC and other donors effectively. So, I have zero qualms about this application.
Jan's muted again.
You're muted. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just, yeah, let's give Jan a second.
Okay.
I got it. I am so sorry. I totally meant I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't be just giving more agreement with what everyone said, but in 46 years, you've completed You've done it right. You've learned, you've grown, you've taken all of the reviews that I've seen online are just people who speak of the high energy. It's just a wonderful program. I have never been to see it, but I clearly want to. Chanticleers. So that was a pun intended. I agree with Colin. Let's IAC support them.
I'm going to jump in with just a reminder that it's difficult sometimes to not bring like personal admiration or outside knowledge of organizations into these conversations, but try to remember to not do that. And there are a lot of other factors besides just these panel reviews that help determine whether or not an application is awarded funding. So we're really just here to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the applications, not to verbally speak out specifically in favor of funding or not in favor of funding. So try to just speak with specificity about the constructive feedback and follow the application or the evaluation guidelines. I'm sorry. Thank you.
On to our next one.
You want to give everybody time to finalize their scores and update their online comments.
Okay.
And then if everybody, if you're good there and you don't need any more time and sort of moving through the rest of this process, if you could give some kind of visual nod or thumbs up to Tracy so that she knows when everybody is good to move on to the next application, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. East Central Indiana Chamber Orchestra. And the first reader is Colin.
Good morning, everyone. This is for the East Central Indiana Chamber Orchestra. I found the application incredibly strong in the area of artistic quality. It clearly showcases an unwavering commitment towards supporting accessible chamber music in Indiana. One of the unique and impressive aspects of this application and this organization is how it showcased that it brings together amateur adult musicians, college music majors and minors, and talented high school students. I believe that this creates a dynamic and diverse environment where everyone has something to learn from each other. Also, another strength in artistic quality is their focus on collaborating with local school choirs, which is a testament to really bringing together the community with the art form, and provides everyone involved a really unique experience. In terms of artist support, it's another big strength of this application is all of the funding goes to Indiana artists. Their selection process for members of the orchestra is based on merit, which is wonderful. For the student string players, the process is also equally rigorous. They're selected by the concertmaster and conductor, reaching out into the community, talking with studio professors. And so it's really a wide encompassing selection process, which is really great to see. In terms of community engagement, IDEA, while this application doesn't showcase these unique places going out into the community where they hope to present, they do harken back to previous performances that showcase this commitment to trying to make the music as accessible as possible. I was impressed with how they utilize surveys, again, to not only inform their programming decisions, but also help identify new areas in the community where they might be able to make an impact. In terms of project management, I thought it really showcased, the importance of how to utilize a board. They seem to do it very effectively, having several committees that oversee the various aspects of their organization. Had a very strong rehearsal schedule. It looked very reasonable. The budget breakdown was impressive. It was really great to see exactly how the money was going to be allocated between these different types of musicians. The only thing that I didn't see that I was hoping to see was a more detailed timeline in terms of publicity and outreach. You know, if you're trying to reach a lot of different areas in your community, that's going to take a lot of different types of methods with different lead times. And so it would have been helpful to just understand how far out you're announcing your season and what ways, and any other sort of engagement timeline, because it had very impressive goals in terms of reaching the community. So overall, thought it was a very strong application, and you know, it was really great to see how many people are involved and how it's being continued. So.
Well done, Colin. I agree. I don't have much more to say.
Do we have any other feedback from the other panelists?
I agree as well. It's just very impressive how they're involving large parts of the community, how they're performing them for free, especially the student scholarships and paying students perform, which is a great deal, great situation, work with professionals also. So yeah, very, very thought out and thorough application.
I would just like to see more ways that they can get their social media, people engaged more with their social media. I mean, I think this is a wonderful program, and I love to see they have free concerts. Maybe they could tag some of the students that are in their photographs to get more followers. That's all I had. I have to let my cat out.
We'll go on to our next applicant.
Just a quick reminder, sorry, Tracy, after the general conversation everybody seems comfortable with their opportunity to share, just to remind everyone to finalize their scores and update any written comments in the online evaluations. That's just, not everybody needs that time, but we want to make sure that if people are revisiting their perspectives at all, that they have time to do that during the panel.
Is everybody ready to go on?
Just about.
Okay.
I'm having problems switching to the next one. Don't know a quick way to do that. Okay. Yep, good.
Okay. Our next applicant is Marion Arts Commission. And our first reader is Jan.
Hi, I read this evaluation, this application, and I love the project. It is very inclusive. There's so many parts to it. It's entitled "You Are the Answer," but I will say that I had to read it numerous times because I did not understand it. And I tried to, and finally, after looking even at the attachments, I was able to bring a little clarity myself. I'm hoping this does not go over into the public. I'm hoping that Marion County knows what you're doing and that it is very inclusive to everybody. I know that it has a lot of good things to it. It appears to be well planned out extremely well thought out. There are committees that are going on, and there's obviously a lot of planners, and many hours have been put into this beloved county project. And I'm impressed that Marion County is doing so well in bringing the arts to be inclusive into the participants. But like I said, first of all, I didn't even know if the title was, it's all the workshops are different titles from the project title. And I was quite confused at knowing what was going on. Artistically, there are a lot of great artisans who are coming in and providing their work. And I'm impressed that most of this grant is going to be used for their fees. And at the same time, revenue from a not yet awarded grant is also included. Also, in your description of the project, the actual audience of the exhibitions was really not addressed. There are descriptions of where they were to be held. I'm assuming that anyone who wants to come can come and that it's very accessible. But I was very impressed overall, but some of the details were a little bit lacking in my opinion. In regards to community engagement, like I said, the inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, it appears to be good on every side. They try to take measures to include everyone. And I'm glad that they've used the QR codes and hard copies in their surveys. Yes, very nice. I love the inclusiveness of reaching into all possible segments of the county and using universities and the Carey services and thriving families to help reach out to underserved artists or the future artists is impressive as well. I have a dream academy is reaching out into a bilingual communities, trying to serve everyone. They are taking great measures, and I'm very happy to see that. In regards to project management, I will say that I loved your large multifaceted arts project. It encompasses every media of art, visual, voice, written, fashion. It's very impressive, this whole project idea. But for a project of this caliber and with so many arms to it, surely there must be some kind of even save the dates available or upcoming blasts involved in your marketing. I mean, it's coming up quick and I didn't see a lot of that, but I'm hoping that you already have that taken care of. The amount of people behind the scenes and planning and putting this project together, quite impressive. But I am questioning it all coming together as I see no advanced marketing of any verbiage in your social media. I looked on your website. I didn't even see that it was there, especially as it starts in August of this year. I might say that. To pull this off, it may behoove you to already be communicating with your public and your artists about the workshops and exhibitions. I just would love to see this program have great strength and momentum in your county. There is no financial in the public profile on the top of the tab, at least on mine. There is no financial organization program support. I didn't know who your board of directors were. I would have loved to see some of that financial information to see that you are, and I'm assuming, and that's all I can do is assume that it is you are a very healthy organization. So, but the project itself is awesome. I think it is well thought out, like I have said, and thank you for your listening.
I'm going to jump in really quick just to offer a point of clarification. The IAC does receive financial documentation from the applicants, but that's not something that we ask panelists to evaluate, just in the interest of being more respectful of your time investment already. So that is something that's shared. I just want to make sure that if the applicant is watching, that they know that we have what they submitted. You guys are missing that on purpose. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Catherine, would you like to go next, please?
I agree with everything she said. It was a complicated application and I read it several times. Maybe an easier breakdown of all of the different programs. I love that there's so many different mediums involved. But it was a little complicated.
I'll jump in. It was a very exciting application to read. I agree, though, that it was pretty esoteric in its language, which does give me a little bit of concern in terms of how is the community going to understand this. So I would just keep that in mind while developing a marketing plan, to simplify the language, and really just communicate what is going to be produced, and what is going to be seen and how is it going to be experienced. That would have really helped me in terms of just understanding what was going on here. But talk about an impressive list of stakeholders in the community. It's when you bring together this many incredible human beings who care about the community, that really is a recipe for great success. So I think all the parts are there. This needs to be boiled down a little bit, so it can be truly accessible, because currently how it stands, it's going to scare a lot of people whether or not that they belong. So making sure that there is language that is accessible will make this a great success.
And it could be something as simple as calling what you call the overall title of the show, or the shows, like a series. Then you have part 1, part 2, part 3, because that's really what we're seeing, like 3 separate exhibitions. But I think one of the confusing things is that it's all titled under one untitled and all kind of separate. So I get you did outline what each show is and their timelines and their partners, and I get that. It is quite an ambitious application, and that's part of that's a catch-22. It's a great thing about it, but it's also the tricky thing about it. So another thing I think is impressive about this is the way you're approached the DIEA initiatives by partnering with 3 strong institutions. I think it's going to have a lot of wide reach as well, from educational institutions to cultural. And I definitely second the marketing, how you pitch this and market this will give a lot to Colin and the other panelists' points regarding how the public will understand this. But what it seems like will happen is that you just market these separately because it's 3 separate shows. So you're not really going to do all together at the same time. So I think this marketing on their timeline would be sufficient.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next panelist, or our next applicant, is Meltdown Projects, Main Street, Richmond. And Antonia, you're the first reader.
All right. Let me pull this up. Artistic quality, it was very clear. You're bringing in local artists and outside artists to do works and present. Let me pull up another PDF here. Gotcha. Okay. So I scored it highly on that. It's clear the artists would be adequately compensated. A good deal of budgets going to them. Here. This had an impressive marketing. It had a wide reach, from hotels to radio to the local government of Parks and Rec, posters, print form. Really good on the marketing end of this. It's definitely a strength in this application for sure. Yeah. So, detailed timelines, a lot of moving parts on this, a lot of collaborators and partners. I believe the application articulated their usage and involvement pretty clearly. The budget's quite thorough from in-kind to expenses. It was laid out pretty well from the police department to, we talked about hotels and the radio. A very good job in articulated the strengths of the artists participating, their experiences, their accolades, how this program evolved in the past couple of years, so really fleshed out a description of the program, all the parts it has incorporated with it. Being in a downtown place is open, it's going to be quite accessible to people just even walking by or just driving by. So good kind of footprint publicly. And that has summarized my points on this.
Thank you, Antonio. Colin?
Yeah, I thought this was a very strong application. It's great to see, again, a wide array of really knowledgeable people putting this together and using past years' experiences to improve and build this program. You know, I love that they point out that, you know, this art form that they are presenting, ice carving, is easily understood, easily accessible. The community, you know, will get to interact with these artists and see how they do it and ask questions. You know, it's great, making it just really great for families and for people who, you know, may have seen a sculpture and wondered how it's made. And, you know, luckily ice, you know, acts kind of like a rock or, you know, another hard surface. You know, some of the same activities or skills are needed for sculpture in general. So it's a great way to introduce the community to that. In terms of the application in this area, artistic quality, it's great that there's all these auxiliary events and food trucks and all of this other, you know, economic activity happening. I think I might lean a little more into the art itself. It's great that this does many things for the community, but you know, for the Indiana Arts Commission, you know, I think it would be better to focus on the arts. You know, we talk about these auxiliary events that are happening with musicians. You know, it'd be great to know who those musicians are, what sort of music. I think that could really strengthen the application and the artistic quality side. That would also improve my score for the artist support, understanding that, you know, there is one of the art or ice sculpturist is from Indiana. But I know that, or I would assume that these auxiliary musicians and other perhaps teaching artists or whatever that you have also involved, if they're from Indiana, that could have been listed and would have improved your score in the artist support from me. Let's see, the idea work is very strong. You know, I was happy to see that the festival committee, you know, the composition of that has been assessed and improved upon. Really great, you know, surveying and feedback gathering. So that was a huge strength. And yeah, super solid project management team. You know, no qualms there. So yeah, overall, again, you know, I just think, you know, it's such a great artistic project that is really, really accessible. And so to lean into those qualities, you know, I think is all you need to do to improve an application like this.
Thank you, Colin. Any other comments from the panel?
Nope.
Are we ready to move on to the next one? Okay. Muncie Children's Museum. Catherine, you're the first reader.
Okay, let me find up here. artistic qualities. Sorry. I thought it was a well thought out project. I can't imagine doing this type of project with such young artists, but I'm glad they have someone in place who thrives working with small children. Using canvas works to create a mural is a new idea to me, and I think it's very interesting. On art support, yes, the artist receives funding, although to me it seemed like, I don't know if this is something we need to discuss or not, or as part of it, but that seems like a whole lot of work for the funds involved, but maybe that's her choice. Community engagement. I love that they're reaching out to all different types of groups and are working with disadvantaged children as well as school children, and that it's going to be open up to the public. The artist appears to work with all types of children with art, which can be a real challenge. Letting the children choose to take or leave their work is a good move, because I can see that, you know, children down the line would want to take their works home. Project management. Sorry, I'm having weird things are happening to my computer. Sorry. Give me a minute here. Some kind of update just came up. All right. The idea. No. All right, project management, sorry. Everything looks in place to make it happen, with just a wide variety of young people. The budget looks great. And that's all I have. Sorry, it got crazy there.
Thank you, Catherine. Colin?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Catherine said. I think it's a really strong artistic program to bring the community together and show the community through the eyes of its youth in an artistic form is a really great idea. And I think that the input that is being requested from the community to identify, you know, what buildings and what landmarks, you know, really gives everyone in the community a say for how this project, this art is going to come together. So it's not just the youth that are creating the art, you know, it's coming from the whole community, which really makes it a wonderful initiative. It's great that they're using, you know, Ms. Zick, who has already shown that, you know, she's able to bring people together with art. And I'm happy that this will help her with her career, just in terms of not only, you know, as an artist, but also as an instructor, and, you know, and coalescer of community around art. I think, you know, it's great to see that there's a lot of detail in the planning to accommodate as many participants as possible, including, you know, participants with disabilities, and how they plan on creating a safe and welcoming space for everyone. I do think one thing that I was a little unsure about is I know that they are planning on having at least one of the sessions during a day when the community or when the museum is open for free to the community. But I'm wondering if there's any work being done to either transport people in that need transportation or figuring out these other barriers where it's great to have free admission, but if there's any difficulty in getting to the museum or even learning about the experience and that it's going to be free, how are we going to reach out to those different communities to make sure that it truly is as accessible as clearly they intend it to be. Program management looked great. I thought the budget and staffing were very reasonable. And again, having this project done over 7 sessions, not just one, or even just a couple, it makes me very comfortable to know that if something isn't working in that first session or second session, it can be improved upon, and the experiences will only get better, and they'll learn a lot as those sessions go on. So I think that's all I got.
Any other comments from the panels?
A second, a third, well, many have said already about the strength of the application. A couple areas that were a little cloudy to me. One, and when this one is understandable, one is this, students, the children will add to buildings and landmarks to be a part of the mural, which is great, and their input in that way. They're also going to be making works. It reasonably was unclear to what degree the children will contribute to the mural, because it talks about the children may be also to take this home and students may not like to leave it there. So about the question, what percentage will this be made up of children's work versus the artist's work? And it felt kind of, lack of a better word, not strict. It was kind of loose on that end of it. So I was kind of unsure about the levels the children were actually ultimately put into the mural. But like I said, it is understandable children may want to leave their work, but so then it's like, so what percentage is that really? There's another part that was lingering, was that they're going to reach out to an organization to connect with low income communities, but they haven't stated organization. They haven't planned that out yet. They are working with the individual, and they state this individual application to reach out to these low income communities. But, and that person reaches out to organizations, but they haven't specified the exact organization yet. So that part seemed unfulfilled. Though, since they have a partner to work on that, I do have confidence that will be fulfilled.
Jan, do you have any comments?
No, the only thing I will say is in regards to the children and either keeping or exhibiting their art forever, quote unquote, as I had a gallery in my previous position, and children came in and watched art all the time, and they loved to talk about it and they loved to experience it, and to be a part of that would be a very creative experience for a child. I think that they need that, and whether they take it home or encourage them to keep it as the part of the mural, I love the idea that you could kind of tell them or bring it along, that they could come back years later. It's just all a part of an experience of growth in the arts world for children.
Well, and my understanding was that the children would do work on paper, and then those who wanted to do a canvas, which would go on the wall for this mural, could also do that. But then the ones that are on the paper could go home with them.
Any more comments? Thank you very much.
I'm going to jump in and just sort of acknowledge that we're halfway through the applications. And we've been going for about 45 minutes. I don't know how everybody's feeling. If anybody would like a break, or if you would like to keep moving. Jan, break? Okay.
Yeah, I'll take 3 minutes for me.
Okay, let's just do 4 minutes. And according to my clock, that puts us back here at 10:50, if that works for everybody. Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody's back, so I think we can resume the panel. Thank you.
Our next applicant is Richmond Community Schools Civic Hall Performing Arts Center. And our first reader is Antonio.
Okay. All the performances seemed really high quality, seemed quite stellar. It should be an exciting season of entertainment. The biggest issue I had with artistic support is that none of the artists, the performers, are from Indiana. Let's see here. There was a lot of emphasis placed on Alan Harris and Across the River, working and having programming collaborate with the Coffin House. But there wasn't a whole lot of discussing the kind of the programming, the more elaborate program around the other performers as well. Okay, it's clear that artists would benefit from the portion of these proceeds and from the budget of the program itself. I had a lot of problems with this application. It was really about the community and DIEA plan. Again, all the artistic merit is there. One issue I had was that, though I do understand the perspective of rural communities being underserved, but there was no programming offered to bring this entertainment to them, either online or through radio, or to provide transportation. So if that community is expected to come to the institution for this programming, how underserved are they? Because they can go to other institutions as well. So I think this was strengthened by offering some programming to that community too that may not be able to get there. I missed any kind of program that involved high school students. We got some that were explicitly talked about in elementary school students. The biggest red flag for me in this application, this community engagement part, was that this application was very heavily leaned on articulating Alan Harris's Cross the River program with the Levi Coffin House program. And we missed the other performers having a substantial articulation and application regarding how they would support community engagement in DIEA programming or initiatives. It seemed kind of superficial and weak to pair the Coffin House with Harris, but articulating why that is. We get the narrative of Harris's story and performance talking about one of the first Black cowboys and slaving and escaping enslavement, but I'm not sure to what degree the Coffin House links to that, how those two things connected. The other part I had issues with was that there was a Q&A proposed for families to come and speak to curator of the Coffin House, but it wasn't emphasis on what that conversation will be, how the Civic Hall's making that specific and articulating that and directing that conversation. It sounded like they were just coming to speak to the curators. And unfortunately, it came off to me as if the Civic Hall is outsourcing their community engagement and DIE programming, just by having these people come in without them being involved really in the conversation, but they're just housing the conversation. The budget and outline looked good. The management looked good. Impressive staffing, can argue there, years and decades of experience. Out in there, this was a problematic application. For one, not really supporting Indiana artists, and two, doesn't seem to be really committed to community engagement DIA initiatives.
I'm going to jump in quickly and just acknowledge that I spoke with the person who submitted this application specifically about Indiana artists not being included or compensated. And though the application doesn't do a very good job of detailing it, because most of the artists that are listed, it's like a high level listing of who's enlisted to participate. They do hire community artists to be backup musicians. I agree that that should be more clearly identified in the application, and that it should be a focal point even based on the funding priorities. But that is something that has been addressed with the applicant. And so I just want to make sure that the panelists are aware and that's acknowledged, that information has been shared with the IAC.
For an institution of this caliber with this budget, they need to put that in here. They can't have you be an advocate for us after the fact. Like we get the caliber they can execute. And they should have put more effort into this application.
I appreciate that perspective, Antonio, fully.
I'm not digging on you.
I know.
I'm, just saying, I'm not killing the messenger here.
No, I think I would be remiss to not, based on sort of the trajectory of that conversation and the detail discussed around that specific point of the application. I do feel a responsibility to acknowledge that. So, but thank you.
But yeah, we have to worry about favoritism though. If they get this kind of talk, that every other applicant should be able to get that kind of talk too when we have this discussion on this platform that's public. Every other institution should be able to have a second word if that's the case.
Fair points all around. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Antonio.
And I think I'm second speaker on this, so unless you're not done, Antonio. Are you done?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, very good. I think I'm going to come at it from a different perspective, bringing to an underserved, and I will say an underserved county, high caliber musicians and artists is a wonderful thing. And I think that is probably their main goal in looking through this grant. I think that they want to have the local and community performers perform with high named people. And I think it accomplishes something. And it's a good thing to bring something into a county that they don't always get a chance to see. Otherwise, they'd have to go to New York City, right, Colin? And I love that they're bringing it to hometown. I agree with some of your other aspects that you have mentioned about the IDEA, and would like to see them do some more to bring it out into a school, have like a point where they go in and have a big what is it called? All the school gathers and the artists will come in and give something special to them so that they can have an opportunity to hear from the big name too, or even some of the other people from the orchestra. The rest of the project, their monies are big, and I like that they try to do their best to hear from the community who they want to bring in. And I think they're doing an overall, fair job about doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Is there any other comments from the panelists?
Yeah, I'll chime in. I agree with both Antonio and Jan. There's a tricky balance between, presenting great art, which this organization clearly does. It was a very impressive roster of artists coming into this community, which can create a great sense of pride and expose a lot of people to these various art forms. But just, looking at, the incredible amount of experience the staff has had. And, I was really excited to see that, between, over $90,000 in admission fees and $12,000 in program advertising revenue. That showcases that, marketing and this development work is clearly, under control. If you're able to list those figures, I think, that shows me that there's a lot of, you could focus on community engagement and idea work in a more meaningful way and showcase that. So yeah, it's just, I think it's definitely incredible intentions and it's very important for this community to have this sort of programming, and it shows that it is supported by the community. How do we now make it more accessible and further reaching? in the schools, out in the community, getting people to this center to experience it. There was a note about, these pre-show discussions being a part of the educational work. A question I had is, if you're working to identify groups that are meeting or that would benefit from that, it wasn't clear, are these people coming for free or at a discounted rate? It's one thing to say these ticket buyers seem like they benefit from this, and another to say we know that this particular group of people would benefit from a discussion and experiencing this art form, and then making sure that it is possible for them to be there. I just think I hope they continue to apply and just craft their language and how they are talking about what they do, and then I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Anyone else?
I agree with everything they've said.
Our next applicant is Richmond Jazz Orchestra. And our first reader is Catherine.
Yes. Artistically, it sounds like a really neat program. The strategies, the community engagement, it's being held at the library, which is accessible, and it's on the bus route. Wondering if there was a way that could reach out to more people other than, Facebook and the website, newspaper, radio, flyers at the grocery stores, schools. Participants should be, I took that participants should be how many people are expected to attend. Artists would be the musicians. I wasn't sure if that question was handled quite right. Is there a way to have more community involvement? Maybe take some musicians to play elsewhere prior to the main concert to kind of draw attention and draw more people in. Project management, the timeline makes sense and the budget does. They had mentioned help setting up, that could be listed as in kind. I didn't see, since all the artists are volunteers, I didn't see where, this would help financially, any of the artists. So that's all I had.
Okay. Antonio?
Yep, I agree with Catherine on all points. Seems like a great opportunity to make the library. Seasonal concerts going to be pretty great. One of the downsides I saw to this application was that the artists were not getting compensated. Good on to this, but let me double check my words while I say this. Expenses. Yeah, music sheet calls, marketing. I think it would have been a stronger application if they requested the max amount of dollars and given the money to musicians too as a stipend. Other than that, very good application. Look forward to seeing it. I'm glad to provide the music sheets and everything, or the sample artists and songs and stuff. So.
I'll chime in. I agree. This sounds like a really fun and exciting group that is giving back throughout the year, not just during the holidays. So I definitely commend them for that. If this particular concert has been going on for 7 years, there's only so many holiday songs out there. So to be requesting funds exclusively to buy 17 new lead sheets for holiday music is excessive. I don't think that that is the best use of funds. It might be interesting to have, some of the students help make new charts, or, the musicians who are participating. There's a lot of ways to find music, especially, a lot of this music is in public domain at this point. So you can, find it, very cheaply. I do think it's important to continue to grow musical libraries. So I get that, but perhaps, as Antonio said, this could be an opportunity to, if you don't want to necessarily compensate your musicians in the traditional sense, paying them for performance, the fact that you are working with students, perhaps, providing scholarships for, jazz camp, or their private lessons, or using the money to do a second show somewhere else in the community. I think there's a lot of ways where this organization could really grow and make an even greater impact on the musicians that participate, but also the community. And so allocating some of those resources toward growing that, I think, would really strengthen the application and further the mission of this organization. But great overall. I think it's a really great project.
Thank you. Jan, do you have anything?
What I wanted to bring into the conversation is that they use the music that was birthed in the town that they're playing, the Gannett, the whole Gannett history. And I just love that they are trying to incorporate that into it as well. And I understand some of your conversation about there's only so much music for Christmas, but at the same time, bringing it from that era, bringing it from those artists and kind of making it jazzy is probably something that they could use some of the students and amateur artists, or even professional, they might call themselves. But at the same time, I love that they are incorporating local history into their performance. I want to also mention that this is the first time that they have asked for an arts project support, and it might behoove us to be a little understanding in that as well. I don't know. Thanks.
Anybody need any more time? So are we ready for the next one? Ross Community Center, and our first panelist is Colin.
Basically noted, this is for the Ross Community Center. Past couple of years, they've been hosting 2 programs for string instruction, and I think this is really high in artistic quality and artist support, using a proven method for teaching young people strings with the Suzuki method. Allows, it's a full family experience. You have parents involved, which is really key to ensuring that the musical instruction is sticking and is a part, is more holistic. I love that the summer string camp also includes movement instruction. It shows that they are really thinking about the whole young artist, and that it is not just learning how to operate the instrument. It's about really getting it into your body. So I love seeing that. The fact that they're using professional dance and music educators as well as undergraduate music instructors is really encouraging. I think it'll be that just makes for a richer experience for the students and for the participants, but also for these, young music educators from Indiana hoping to get experience. I think, in this area, the application could be improved by, just listing, the goals for the participants in terms of educational, musical, and social growth. What is it actually going to do for these participants? And then the other thing is, the Ross Community Center has done these programs in the past. It would have been great to see what exactly, what are some things that from previous years that you would either cut because they weren't working, or strengths that you plan on building on. But overall, very strong in those two areas. And they also, it's great to just see that they noted that their dance instructor had recently moved out of state. People move. And so I'm very grateful that they just listed that was, what they were working with. In terms of community engagement and idea work, I loved seeing that they, hold on. What was I going to say here? Well, we'll start with they've got a pretty robust surveying program, an assessment program, using SurveyMonkey and other email, social media surveys. So again, I think taking that data and using it to improve the programs is makes us very strong. They're going to have a t-shirt design competition, which is for the entire public, which is a really cool way to, again, bring arts, it's a design project, into the string and movement. Not that, they're getting a lot of different art forms in here and really making it open and accessible to the entire community. And yeah, they noted that, the community schools don't have the resources to have a string program. And so this is very clearly fulfilling that need. I understand that they need to first offer enrollment to past participants and people who regularly, are at the Ross Community Center. But I do think that they noted that it has been successful in years past, and that they don't really have any concerns about this filling up, which just gives me a little bit of concern that if people haven't yet heard of this opportunity or haven't been to the Ross Community Center and want to participate in this, that there may not be space for them. So perhaps, reserving a few more spots for people outside the community, or if it really is, if you don't have any concerns about this filling up, consider expanding the program and seeking funds to do so it can reach a wider range of people. Project management looked great. It was really nice to see that leadership at the Ross Community Center had participated in this program with their children, which just allows for a more holistic oversight viewpoint. Yeah, very strong, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Colin. Jan?
Yeah, I was agreed with a lot of what Colin said too, and I was really impressed that parents demanded this, and it was a good thing to listen to the public. And as well, going down they targeted specific neighborhoods, they said, and areas of Muncie, their target focus for the project. And I would have liked to have learned a little more on how they focused that. how did they go in? Did they go into the housing units? What did they do? Just to kind of bring more enlightenment into that. I'm glad to see that these registrants are welcomed in that the wider Muncie community will be invited. But like Colin said, there needs to be more work in that somehow. And that needs to be thought out, I would say. It was good to see the public's help in developing the program, direct conversations, like you said, online surveys, and the t-shirt design. And it was very nicely thought out. I don't have much more to say than that, but I hope it works out. And I love that the violin, cello, all the strings are being used. I love the tone of all of those and just bringing in the movement as well. Thank you.
Any other comments from the panel?
I just wondered about if there's any kind of like public performance that could go back to the communities where the students and the people taking these classes, maybe something little that they could show, what they've accomplished. That's it.
I think it is my understanding but I don't know about this one, in other Suzuki schools, they do have at least an annual performance, but I'm not sure on this one either. And that is a very good point.
Thought I recall something about maybe I'm mistaken, about a camp. They have performance for the camp.
Maybe so.
But in any case, love this application. Because they articulated the need of the community for this, and the survey that Jane talked about, having the parents speak on really wanting this was really great. Some thoughts I had, not like criticisms, but what downside does serve a small amount of participants. So, which is understandable because there's one teacher. So that's very smart strategically to do. But it'd be beautiful if this program grew to serve more and to have more instructors in it as well. And I think that another good option or initiative for the future is to make the programming free. It's $10 already. The overall budget was $10K. You're requesting $5. I feel like the other $5 can be given to by a generous donor or board member, so community. That would give it further legs as well, just make it free and have your development department work on something. We make some good friends. And I'm kind of going back with this comment to what we talked about early on in our whole session about the marketing too. I can see marketing and going to Catherine's point too about maybe doing something online. They just focus on Facebook and their website, and they posted the flyers or marketing. But just TikTok and Instagram and the Twitches. You deal with children, so you got to deal with sensitive communities and that kind of display. You can make these performances private or whatnot, but reaching children, you can also reach young families, which will bring to longevity of the program too, by going to these other social media and online outlets. But a great program. Oh, and testimonials, parent testimonials, like you've been given, like Jane talked about, that you've already been received. That can be part of the marketing thing too. Yeah.
Do we need a little more time for scoring? Are we ready for the next one? Okay. South Madison Community Foundation, and Jan is our first reader.
This project is a pretty strong grant application, and I really enjoyed that. This was their first time asking for support from the IAC, and it was a community project, and doing the crosswalks and having youth designing them. It was very encouraging. The entire project totally fills an organizational mission, very nice. And even though a private school and it was the first crosswalk was completed in 2022, this is the remainder of the crosswalks on a certain street in the town. And I loved that they are coming in and asking for getting some support from the IAC for it. Now, in regards to artist support, it's very clearly stated in this application. The full-time artist will be given a stipend for each of the 4 crosswalks, and other funds will be used for prepping the crosswalks and painting materials and supplies. Everything is being used as an artistic purpose. But I'm questioning the large administrative costs of $1,000 for this project. I understand paid staff needing to work on it and planning and prep, but there's no mention of how much of their time will be used. Is this figure just a fill-in to make the budget balance? I don't know, but I would have loved to see more backup for that. And I love that the city itself is getting around the project and people are coming in, and that there's going to be a celebration unveiling. It's going to be like a really nice town event. And I love that even visitors traveling through the town will get to see this going on for years. And then in regards to IDEA, as I move down here, I love this entire project of having youth from all ages and all backgrounds and in every aspect of life work on the crosswalk designing and painting. And it's clearly stated that the viewing parties will be inclusive to the general public as well. The Crosswalks on Water Street campaign is a wonderful citywide project. In regards to project management, I believe that they will be incorporating local community foundation funding. So and support, in-kind support as well. They're going to be getting support from multiple areas, and that is a testament to the management organizing it. The artist, Holly Sims, seems very capable, and she adds integrity and professionalism based on some of her other artworks as well. So overall, I think this is a very strong application. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Catherine, you're the next reader.
I agree with all that. The one thing I don't know is how one would measure the impact of this project other than, keeping count of how many people come to watch the young artists and, come to see the artwork. I think it's neat that the artist is going to take all these ideas and create one design for each crosswalk. Wasn't sure about, what marketing materials might be needed, except for the day that the young artists are at work, so people could come see them and, celebrate the event. I wondered about the timeline. It seemed a little bit short unless you have really good weather. Because, with an outdoor project like that, you've got to have maybe even several days of good weather. So I would maybe a little more time for the project to compensate for weather. And I just thought the budget looked good. The artist will definitely earn her pay on this one. That's it.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there any other comments from the panel?
I agree with everything said. And it was a very impressive community engagement and DEA initiatives happening here. All these different types of demographics, young people. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really impressed with, that they took this data that they got from the Ball State University's Indiana Communities Institute, surveying their community and identifying that it was public safety around pedestrians versus cars, youth involvement, and beautification of the town taking those three things and, you know, coming up with an arts project around it that addresses all of those things. That's really, really impressive. And you know, as Antonio just mentioned, you know, the idea work around this, especially with you know, the youth correctional facility is, you know, I was just smiling ear to ear when I read that, you know, these are young people in their community that, you know, that the art or using art to make their community more beautiful is such a meaningful thing, and that they're able to do that through proxy of their supervisors, you know, takes a lot of coordination and planning and you know, just careful attention, both, you know, just how it's done and how it's communicated, and so the fact that they're taking that on is really, really cool. And you know, I agree that it's, you know, for a project like this, it's hard to measure impact, but you know, this is going to have such a huge impact that it's not going to be measurable. I mean, it's the community is going to be beautified, you know, by their youth, and it's going to be, it can be enjoyed by everyone. So, you know, I thought it was very, very impressive.
Thank you very much. Let me know if you need more time for your scoring. Are we ready for the next one? Okay. The town of Glenwood. Our first reader is Antonio.
All right. I was excited for this program too. 274 people in this town going to benefit from this mural. That was pretty great. That was pretty excellent. What do we have here? Let's see here. Clear the artistic merit in the corporation. They're going to get, the artist is going to be compensated well. A local artist too, I think out in Connersville. Pretty great. Clear impact to the community at large. This large mural in the neighborhood. Let's see here. Any other things? And that's all I got. I like this. It was well done. It was simplified. I got it. Yeah, good application.
Our next reader is Colin. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought this was a strong application. You know, it was very clearly expressed that, you know, the community has expressed interest in murals. So taking that feedback and planning for one to be designed and painted in such a way where the community, or to celebrate the community's heritage. And while it is a small town, I mean, that, you know, leads me to believe that it will be appreciated and accessible to a very high percentage of the community. You know, I assume everyone is going to know about this and see it in that community, and to get involvement at, you know, over 90% in any community, you know, is really impressive. Lexi's, the artist's samples all look very beautiful, high quality. It appears that she's able to paint in various styles and represent different figures in beautiful ways. So as the design comes together based on community input and leadership from the town leaders, you know, I'm sure she'll be able to execute it no problem. You know, I think the only way that I would improve this application is maybe describing a little more in detail just how the draft process will be conducted, getting community feedback, will there be multiple rounds of showing the drafts and allowing for further input, or just, and even if not, just stating that this is how that process would go. Perhaps getting testimonials from local business owners or people in the community, just stating that, we'd love to see this because XYZ. Let's see, what else did I say? Yeah, very strong, very to support a young female artist in the community, who's, doing great work in her community. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Colin. Any other comments from the panel?
Yes, I would like to comment. Like everyone previously stated, it is a good use of their stipend, and I might say it's their total budget. So, I mean, everything is that you are going to get from the grant will go to the artist, which will then, I would like to have seen a breakdown of all of the materials and such, but she knows what she's doing. And, but I will say that they didn't ask for the full 5,000, and I would have liked to have seen them ask for the full 5,000, and maybe add something else to it, like maybe add how they can bring people over to see it for the initial unveiling. They can get creative, and I just wanted them to get all the money they could, because small towns need this, and it's a very strong, I'm very excited to see this.
I don't think that I saw a schedule, a timeline for the project. Did I miss that? Oh, they just said it's flexible.
It's flexible.
Okay.
And I think, they can do it when you can do it. And, with this just being a single artist, I think, whatever makes the most sense for that artist, and their life and the weather. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, Catherine, it kind of talked about what you talked about in the past, is like the mural season, April 1st to September 30th. So you're right, Catherine.
Yeah, and I would like to see a photo for the application. I would have liked to seen a photo of the building that they're going to be doing this on.
Yeah, that would have been helpful. And also one thing that I did, and actually, I'm sorry to the applicant if this was included, but I do know that for murals, preparation of the wall, and how is that going to be done? Is that the requirement of the building owner? Who owns the building? Where exactly is it? I do think that information would have strengthened this application.
Right.
Any other comments? Do we need time for your scoring? Okay. Well, this concludes the Indiana Arts Commission Region 5 FY24 Arts Project Support Panel number 2. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June Commission's meeting. If you have any questions, please contact Brady Eulis, and thank you very much.